Hello, welcome to this Node.js masterclass. So in this episode of the masterclass, we're just going to look at the project overview we are going to build within the course. Okay, and this takes me the whole problem we are solving, the application we are solving, the technology we are using, and explaining you about the client project we are going to be building together and everything for the resources we are going to use, the tech stack and everything. And at the end of this episode, we are doing probably two things. One is to start by installing a Node.js onto the system and setting up Node.js with TypeScript. As you can just see here, we have a fully well-documented setup here that you're going to follow step by step. You can see here, well documented. We are going to follow this, and after following this, we are going to end up creating our Node.js starter template. So we are going to publish here a starter Node.js tier starter template that you can use always in all your Node.js TypeScript projects. You simply clone it and it has all the dependencies you need to get started. And in this very starter, we put a basic API endpoint that we actually posted it in Postman, as you can see here. So this is a very good start for this project, and we are going to use this Node.js starter to actually start on the actual API we are going to build in the project, which is actually this one. So this one was a derivative of this starter template we created in the first place, and now we are starting to create on the IPOS API we are going to build in this course. So welcome to this series, and let's just dive in, show you the details. Hello, welcome. So in today's video, we're just going to start on a big project, which is building an API, and it is going to be an inventory management system with a point of sale with Node.js and TypeScript. And to those ones who know, I think you already know that I have a course uh, while we're building an inventory app, and we're using Next.js, and we use Next.js backend and front end and everything. So we have already completed the course actually, and we also did API integration in this very course, but we still used the Next.js API. And in today's course is going to be an advantage to even those ones who did the course. If you took the course, we're going to build almost the same thing, but this time is going to be an API using Node.js. So to give you why I'm doing this project is that of recent I got a client who actually wants a mobile app. So me and my team, we are building a mobile app, which is a point of sale, an inventory management system with a point of sale for a client who wants a mobile app. Actually, he's not interested in the web. Actually, we even convinced the person to have the web version, but that person refused. They only want the mobile app only. So we have to have an API which is built in Node.js. Me and my team, we always use Node.js for all our works, and the React Native for the front end for the mobile app, and the yeah. So that's the stack we normally just always use. So it is going to be a big journey building this API together. And as I've said, to those ones who did the course, this is going to be a plus plus. Like you have ability just to turn now all this into a modular API in Node.js, because the features we put in this application are almost exactly the same features that we have, only that we don't have, maybe to say we don't have the e-commerce. It's not an e-commerce, it is a point of sale almost in the normal working of the mobile app. So I don't know if in the future I'm just going to use this API. I was planning actually in the future after finishing the API, I also do React Native, whereby we consume this API to build the mobile app. So yeah, that one will be coming later after finishing the API. But in today's Node.js masterclass, we're going to look at developing this API from scratch, and to see or to give you an idea of what we are getting into or building. So welcome once again to this course, and we're going to build, as we said, a powerful inventory management system with a point of sale using Node.js TypeScript, Express, mongoDB, and Prisma. So that's the stack we are going to use in this course. Is going to be using Node.js and Express, and then TypeScript, and then MongoDB, and then with Prisma for querying our database and everything. So it is just going to be covering those people who are just like starting, because I'm going to start from scratch, whereby we set up the TypeScript with Node.js, and then later on we proceed and then we build it to the complex it will go. So this course is designed for developers who want to deepen their understanding of backend development, more especially using TypeScript and Node.js. There are very few tutorials actually online which are actually using Node.js and TypeScript. Most of them actually just like using only JavaScript. They're not using TypeScript, and me and my team will use TypeScript at the backend. So I want to show you how to use TypeScript, and it will guide you through building a really production ready API that you can use in real production. We're not just going to do a demo API, like we are making an API and it's not going to do anything. We're going to build and deploy this. We are going to buy together even the hosting. We are going to host it as early as possible so that we have less errors. So we'll deploy it on Railway. Is what I normally use for the API. We deploy it on Railway, and you will be seeing how everything will be done. The API we build is intended for a client managing multiple drug shops. So this client specifically it's going to be of course working for all the products, but I'm just like trying to say that the client right now, the one who came to us has wants to manage multiple drug shops, requiring comprehensive features like user roles, because this person has attendants of the shop. Those people are going to be attending the shop, so you're going to have the role of the shop attendant or the clerk. And then we have the shop management. He or she must have ability to create a new shop, or you may call it like a warehouse, but we're just like going to use them as shops. So they can have shop A with the users there, the shop attendants, and they are selling the drugs, and then we have shop B also doing the same thing. And of course, we're going to look at a lot of product management and all that kind of stuff. So basically, what you're going to build in this course is basically creating an API. As I've said, in the future, after finishing the API, we might just look at building the React Native part of it, where we consume this API. So we'll create an API that supports the following functionalities. We'll have also authentication and authorization. So we're also going to implement a robust system where the admin can log in, create a shop attendance, and manage user roles and permissions. Basically, there will be only the login. We'll be having like login whereby the admin will log in, and then admin can create a shop attendant and then send them an email with the credentials, and they download the app and then they can log in with those credentials. We have shop management, allowing the admin to create and manage multiple shops. Product management, and admin can create products with complex relationship, including like categories, manufacturers, product families, industries, units. You know how it goes with creating a product. It has a lot of relationships. It has a product must have a category, manufacturer, family, industry, and units. Then we're going to look at customers and sale tracking with even credit. There will be concept of giving credits to customers and also all that kind of stuff. So the API is really robust and advanced. And as you know me, most of the things I do on this channel, I really look at the concept that are really production grade, so that most people who just watch this content, this is like a normal content of building just like a 1 hour app or 2 hours app. I always just like bring applications which are like production ready and giving you a sense of what you go through and the hardships you go through to really build this kind of application. So to look at the outline, we're going to look at we have already looked at the overview of the project, setting up Node.js, and that is going to be the most actually one of the intuitive setup. Setting up Node.js and TypeScript is not just like easy. So just going to look at setting up TypeScript. We're going to look at, of course, adding Express, our Node.js, setting up Express with TypeScript, and looking at the basic routing, error handling, middlewares. We're going to look at very many things, integrating Prisma and mongoDB, authentication. Yeah, so we have a lot of modules, as you can see: shop management, product management, custom and sales tracking. And so, I mean, we're going even to do deployment. Deployment will even, I think, come early alone, to come somehow early alone to, so that you guys can look at. You're not going to use Heroku AWS, we're just going to use Ray in that case. I can just like put here, here you're just going to use Ray. You can of course use other, there are some other things you can use, but for us we're just going to use Ray. And of course, as I've said, the future is we can just like maybe build the React Native. But as I'm building the API, my team is busy working on the React Native. But still, after finishing this one, the API, I'm intending to build a React Native course because I don't have anything to do with React Native on my YouTube channel right now. But after this one, we'll build the React Native consuming this API, which will be really nice. So looking at the overview, this is something like it's going to look like we have authentication, supply, customer, shop management, product, point of sale expense, and so on. All these modules we are going to look at. And I want to show you what a client came with. So the client just provided us that with these photos. Okay. Like there is one part of the what the came with, she came with this app, that she wants to look, it should look like this, and gave us all these photos for the mobile app, and we're using these ones as the basis of helping us to remain in what this person wants basically. So yeah, the app of course had the shop owner, had these, actually the one she came with were two apps, like one for the managing the, one for the owner and one for the attendant, but you're just going to join them into one app. Okay, so that's, you can see here, user management, expenses, and so on and so forth. Okay, yeah, so this is just like the overview. This point that most of the things we're going to be doing actually are going to be documented as everything. So I will be documenting most of the things. And also the first part, this first section we are going to do together in the first episode is going to be totally free. I will just make that repository free, more especially for the one of setting up Node.js and TypeScript and Express. I will make it as a template that you can always reuse in other projects. As you're starting like your Node.js TypeScript project, you just simply clone it and just have it as a starting point. So I will just use that one as a starting point. And but then in the next episode, after the first episode of setup, we will just have we will have the the ability to be cloning it, and then we start building the actual API from there. Okay. Yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and just start. So the first thing we're just going to do is simply go to wherever you make your projects. Me, I'm just going to go to here, and I will look for a place where I always make my projects, and I've already just going to, I'll go to my PC, and there is where I always have the React Native clients and so on and so forth. So I'm going to go to my React Native and inventory app, and you can see we already have the mobile app here. So I'm just going to put the API down. So it will be something like iPOS. Actually, so as we said, we are going to build the template. So I will just like put here a starter template so that I can later on push this. So in this one, I'm just going to just say API. I'm just going to say iPOS API, iPOS API. So just like this. Then inside, I'm just going to have a starter template. So I'm just going to open here. Let me open my Git bash. Okay, so if you don't have Git bash, this is a point why you install your Git bash. If you already installed Git, you must be having Git bash. I like using Git bash. So the first thing you're just going to do is I'm just going to make a directory called uh, maybe node starter. I'm just going to call it this node.js starter, maybe TS, just like this, to know that we have this. Is going to be where we put our node.js starter. So I'm just going to go ahead and open this. So you can just say cd into node starter, and then you can just go ahead and open this in VS Code. I think I have some really a lot of things open here. I'm just going to go ahead and close everything. And let me just open it one more time. Okay, so we have here an empty project, as you can see it here. Okay, so just go ahead and open terminal just like this. Okay, so the first thing, as I'm just going to show you, is I'm just going to head to the documentation. So most of you know this documentation. I've used it in a couple of tutorials, so you must at least already use it. You must be able to use it with this documentation. So in the documentation, you will see that by the way, we have all these things for like HTML, CSS, because I use this actually to teach on our offline. We have an offline class. You can just like go to this. Let me just show you. You can just like go here and look at like YouTube channel where I have one video for the. You could just like go ahead and look at this video. It's not on my channel. It is on this like this sub channel, and we have here this a team of some of the students on this is hub. I think I will also leave the link if I remember, so that you can just look at the people who are offline, and even me myself, I'm in that video. Okay, so the first thing is just simply go onto this. You can see we have Next.js and TypeScript. So down here, you're going to see Node.js and TypeScript. So click on this one. And the first one you're going to see, there is Node setup with TypeScript, and then there is MVC versioning, and I will be adding more things as we move on. Okay, so the first one is Node.js setup with TypeScript. This is going to be our first module or our first lesson. So the first thing before you do this, you have to go ahead and go to Node.js to download it if you don't have it already. I think most of you have already Node.js, and you can just prove to this by just simply I remember just opening the project in VS Code. I don't know what happened. Okay, you can just quickly say node dash v to know the version of Node.js that you currently have on your system. I have Node.js, and you can see here that Node.js is a free blah blah, and you can see download Node.js v20 with the long-term support. Node.js can also be installed via this blah blah. Want new features sooner, get Node.js. We're not going to use this version 22. This one actually has like a very interesting features, but you're not going to use this one. Yes, I'm going to use this version 20. So if you don't have it already, if you just go in your and you just say node v and you don't have a version of 20 and above, please go ahead and install. If you have like 16 or 18, please install and you get at least 20. Okay, at least you can see there's 20.16. It is just almost the same thing. I'm just going to remain with this one. So that's the first step. Download and install. It is very easy to install Node.js, and make sure you have it, and you can confirm by running node v. It should give you a version. After that, let me clear up and let's go back to our documentation. So step number one is create a project folder, of which we have already created. I just used mkdir to make the project, and we have already inside that project. The first thing to do is running this npm init y. So this one npm init, just run npm init -y. This one is to initialize a Node.js project, and by putting y is saying you say yes or questions. If you don't do it, it's going to ask you a couple of questions, and if you don't want to escape them, you just simply say -y to say yes to all of them. If you do this npm init y, it's just going to go ahead and create for you a package.json. So right now we have a package.json, and this is how it looks like. Package.json is a place where all our packages will live. Okay, so moving on, next is I'm just going to go here. I'm just going to be following the documentation. So create a CRC folder in the root, and in it create index.ts. So you can just go here and just say clear, and you can just say, if you just say ls, you'll see that you have only package.json. I'm just going to create a new folder, and I can just say mkdir, and I just going to say src. So right now I've created a source. You can see here there is a source folder right now. Let me just clear. So as you're also learning, you're learning also the command, the commands that I'm using, and you're going to be using them all the time. Then inside, so I can just go inside here. Okay, if I wanted, but just create it just like as normal, click on this source, and inside this create the index.ts file, just like this. And I'm just going to go ahead and create console.log. So just say console.log, and I'm just going to say, maybe we put like 2 + 3, something very easy. Of course, we're not going to do anything with it right now, just like this. Okay, so I think we are still together at this point. Just go down. Step number 3, install TypeScript with its types. So the first installation you're going to do is installing TypeScript. So copy this, and then just go down here, and let's go ahead and install TypeScript. Okay, just make sure we don't have any unnecessary spaces. So npm install, and this is saving it as a dev dependency. Okay, in the production we don't need this, because at the end of the day it's going to be TypeScript. So just install this. So this one's going to go ahead and install for us TypeScript. Okay, as you can see, we have now 2 new folders, that is package log and the node modules. Okay, so just clear this, and let's go ahead, and so you can now confirm that you have installed TypeScript by running npxtscv. and this TSC stands for TypeScript compiler. Okay, so you can confirm that we have TypeScript by running npx TSC and then -v. And this should just give us like a version of TypeScript that we have installed. And I think if you just go still in the package.json, you can just look at the dependencies and we have TypeScript 5.4, 5.5.4 as it gave us here. Okay, great. So I'm just going to close all these files and let me clear one more time. Okay, so moving on. And why I'm taking my time is that because we're just going, the setup of this is very, very crucial. Okay. So after you have just like this, we're just going to step 4 and create a TypeScript config file. So TypeScript configuration file is going to be help us to tell the project how it should compile uh, the TypeScript code into JavaScript, or how it should handle this project. So the next thing you're just going to do is just going here and let's run tsc init. So I think that's the command, npx tsc --init, npx tsc --init, just like this. So this one is going to go ahead and create for us a tsconfig.json file. Let me just clear, and then I'm just going to go ahead and also open it and I look at it. So drop this down, and if I look at the TSC, it has a lot of things that configure. You can see it has like the ES version, and most of the things are really just like commented. Okay, so to simplify on what we're supposed to set up on this, just go ahead and copy this file. So modify the generated TSC config to this one. So simply copy this. I'm just going to go ahead and replace it with this one. Okay, so we take the compilation options, and as we have said, this is about just how it should compile it. Okay, so it's going to be compiling using the module mongoDB, then the ES you want to use, where you're going to use ES 2016 or ES6, and other things, for instance, if it should be implicit NA, strict true, and so on and so on. The most important things are actually these ones. The root directory, we are saying .source, and as you can see, it is this src. So make sure you already have this src folder. That's why we are saying is going to be our root. And then our out directory, or the output, is going to be saved in dist. So when you run, for instance, npm run build is going to build a folder called distribution file, or dist, which is for the distributable JavaScript or something, and something like it will create this folder dist, and all our code is going to live in the source. And then here I'm putting this at path, so it's going to be knowing if we just do at this, is going to be referring to this. Okay, whenever we put at slash, it is going to be taking this. So instead of be writing every time writing source slash, we're going to be using the at. And then in the compilation, we're saying include this, and you can exclude node modules. So we don't want, as this compiling, we should not include the node modules, because these ones are not going anywhere. These are like having the dependencies on the machine locally. So this is the TypeScript config we have so far, and let's move on. Step number 5, let's install other packages that we are going to use in our project. We are going to use a lot of packages, and the first one being Express. So you have to install Express, and Express is a framework of Node.js. We cannot use crude Node.js. It's just like the way you see React and Next.js. So Next.js is a framework of React, and also Express is a framework of Node.js that helps us to build the APIs faster without writing it in a crude format. So I'm just going to go ahead and install Express. And you don't need to have any knowledge of Express. We're going to cover most of the things in this course, so you don't need to be worried like, should I be knowing already TypeScript? Should I be already knowing? Of course, knowing some knowledge of TypeScript is another advantage. I have already tons of tutorials on TypeScript. You can just go ahead and watch one, but it is not necessary. Like the types you are going to write here is not a scary. TypeScript is going to be really like intermediate and even beginner friendly. And also, as I've said, we're just going to be explaining everything. So I'm just go ahead ahead and install Express, and then we also install the types. Okay, so installing Express and also the types for Express. I'm just going to go ahead and clear. And let's go ahead and install other things. We're going to install the .env and cores. So most of these other packages, I put the explanation of what they do, most especially as you can see here. For instance, what is the purpose of the cores and what is the purpose of .env. So the cores is a middleware for enabling cross-origin resource sharing, cross-origin resource sharing in your application. It allows your server to handle requests from different origins, which is essential for accessing resources from web browser when your front end and back end are hosted on different domains. So this one helps your API to communicate to different applications or to different domains. Okay, so we need it. And then we have .env, which is also a mode that loads environmental variables from the .env. So in Node.js, it is just not like a something which is direct to get the env the way we do it in like Next.js, and everything just flows in Node.js. You must install a package to handle that, to load the environmental variables, and that's when we actually put this. So I'm just going to go ahead and also install those two. So I install these cores and .env. Okay, moving on, we need just going to install bcrypt, and bcrypt is going to be used for encrypting. I've also just also put it somewhere. Bcrypt is going to be used to encrypt our passwords when we come to authentication. And I just like sort of like, let me just put it directly here. So we're also going to use bcrypt, and also we add the types. So I'm just going to go ahead and install bcrypt. Its purpose is just to encrypt. You can just go here and you just say bcrypt npm, and you can just like read about it. But its purpose is, you can see a bcrypt for Node.js and blah blah. You can just like go ahead and look at it or read about it, but it's just like for encrypting uh the passwords. So I'm just going to go ahead and install it. Okay, next is going to be Prisma. All of us, we know Prisma. We have used it already in Next.js for so long. So Prisma is a CLI, okay, which is used to manage the Prisma schema, generate Prisma client, and run database migrations. So Prisma itself is a CLI. That's why you say Prisma npx Prisma do this, Prisma db push, Prisma studio. So it is a CLI, and then the Prisma client is one which is going to be using to communicate with the schema and the database. So I'll just go ahead and also install this, just like this, Control C, and I'll just come here, clear, and install this Prisma and Prisma client. Okay, so moving on, we're just now going to install the build tools. Okay, and I think if you have watched any videos for Node.js, you must have come across things like NodeMon. So we used to use like NodeMon for like keeping on like watching the files. We don't no longer need NodeMon. We're not going to use NodeMon in this. We're just going to use these new tools that made compiling of TypeScript even more fun. So I just went ahead and explained there are like 3 or 4. I think there are 3: the TSC areas and TSC node dev and TSC config path. These 3 tools, they help us in different things. The first one is TSC areas. So a tool that replaces a path aliases in compiled JavaScript files after TypeScript compiler runs, it allows you to use past aliases, something like add components. So instead of just be doing dot 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 dot, we don't need to do it. We simply say add, for instance, add components or add routes, and this is going to be helping us so much in configuring. That is the one. Then the second one is TSC Node Dev, a development tool that automatically restarts your Node.js application when a file change are detected. So you're just going to use TSA Node Dev to really we're not going to use NodeMon. We're just going to use this one because this one already has, it is similar to NodeMon, as you can see here. It is similar to NodeMon, but optimized for TypeScript. Okay, are you hearing that? It is similar to NodeMon but optimized for TypeScript, and it also provides fast restarts by using TS Node for only the TypeScript compilation and catching the results. So last one is the TSC config path, and this package that enables Node.js to recognize and resolve past aliases defined in your TS config JSON when running TypeScript directly. So those are the packages we need. I'm just going to go ahead and just copy this and install all of them. And this is just like development. Uh, as you can see, the save dev, they're just like for development purposes only. Okay, so we have a couple of packages we have installed so far, which is really nice. And that's why I've said the setup of TypeScript and Node.js is really robust, and it really needs to take care and move slowly. That's why I'm taking my time to read most of these things so that you get it right in the first place. Okay, so I'm just also going to go ahead and just clear this. And let's just like finally go ahead and modify the script in your package.json. So if right now look at the script we have in our package.json, let me just scroll down, move this down. So if you just go down here, you see the script, we have a test script which says echo error this blah blah. This is the script you have right now. So you need to move or to modify this script to look like this. So I'm just going to copy this and replace it with the script that is existing right now. Okay, so now we have the script that is more advanced. As you can see, we have the dev, the build, the start, and the post install. Post install is going to be when we deploy our when we run like npm build, it will just go ahead and also run post install before the build. So this command here, this one is going to be helping this TSC node is actually just like the short form for this TSC node dev. That's the one TND, the TSC node dev. That is the one we have here, TSC node dev. Okay, this one you might just like be saying what is this. So just like putting this reusing the path and all these things here. Okay, so as you can see here, it is compiling the source, and we pass all these things. You can just like check them on the TSC. You can just like copy this and just go to npm just like this, and you will find here this TSC node, and most of the settings I'm just like passing, they are actually from here. So they take you the flags. After install it, they have a lot of flags. So for instance here, this TSC node dev res transpiled, and then you put the file. So you say here you can, so you just combine node dev and the TS node options you can see in this. Okay, and then here they have told you there is also a short alias for the TS node. That's what we have just used here. So all these options, I got them from here, and they just go ahead and they tell you all the things that you have, like you can specify on the TS node, which is really nice. So you can just go ahead and read about this, what it does, but it is a really nice tool. Okay, so moving on right now. Going back here, we have installed, we have modified the script. Now let's verify that at least at this point we have this sort of the project file structure. Okay, just to make sure we are all on the same line. we must have node use, Prisma, source, and some other files. If you just go here, you'll see that right now, I think our Prisma, we haven't run Prisma in it, but right now, this is how the project looks. Okay, so we can do one more thing. Okay, after this, if you want to get this Prisma out here, we're just going to run one more thing of initializing Prisma. Okay, we just go to look at the Prisma setup in a short, I think down here. I think before I create the Prisma server, let's make sure we have this Prisma with a schema. To do that is very easy. Just say npx Prisma init, just like this, and it's going to say dash dash. I think it's something like npx Prisma init, and then we can just say, I think it's called source source provider is equal mongoDB, something like this. I'm not so sure. Let me just like write this if it's going to work. I think I missed something. Okay, it is just here. They have given me it here. Sorry. They give example here of passing setup and specify the MySQL something. So you can see here. Okay, you can just like this. Prisma init, data source provider, and you do that. Okay, just like do that. So I'm just going to go down here and bring this back. So it is npx Prisma init data source provider. So I just like forgot this. It is called data. Let me just go avoid the data source is one word. Okay, data source, and then provider, and then you put space mongoDB. Provider, just like this. So you can just like run this, and this is going to go ahead and create the Prisma, this with the schema. Okay, so at least now we are good, and I think I will just put this command also there. Here after this, we can just like initialize Prisma. Okay, we just like, if I remember, I will include that command to initialize Prisma. So we are now good. Let's go ahead and by the way, at this point, before we even create this server, we can just run, just to make sure everything is okay. We can just like run npm run dev. Okay, just like this, and we just like see if this is running everything, and you can see here we have 5. And this is just like our this index here, which says console.log 2 plus 3. So you can see it is working here. Okay, so I'm just going to stop the server and clear, and let's go ahead following the documentation. So number 8, let's create an express server. Okay, so putting all the things we have studied so far, we have installed, we can create an express server, and this is actually the backend server that we always talk about. It is not going to be running the whole entire API and everything, and that is the a server. Okay, so if you just look carefully in the documentation here, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. The first thing is importing the Express, and Express is the framework. As you can see here, the Express framework, which is a Node.js framework. Now, you want directly after importing the Express to load the environmental variables, and this is how you load the environmental variables from this, because you might be using them in your project. The next one is the cause. As I've said, the cross origin, it is cross origin resource something. I've already forgotten it. Cross origin resource something. And this purpose of this one, as I've said, it is to help you your API to communicate with various domains without giving you problems. Then this is just like these first three. These ones are just very okay. I'm just going to come here and just add this. The first one, as we said, is for bringing the express, and then this one is to help us load the environmental variables if you have them, and then this one is to allow you use the cross cause, or to help you communicate with different domains which are going to consume the API. Now, the first thing he always is to create actually the Express server itself. The app is created using this const app, and everything is going to be based onto this app. Okay, so we create an Express application instance using const app is equal Express. Okay, and then after that, then we start using every time you see the word use in Node.js, it means you're just using a middleware. Okay, so if you're just like you're just like using it as a middleware. As you can see here, we're using now the cores. Okay, so basically I'm just going to I'm just going to copy this and just put it here. I put all these to help you explain these things here. As we're saying, we have a big project ahead. The speed at which I have to use has to be relatively for beginners, and also basically also for somehow advanced, moving somehow faster. So as we said, in the first place, we bring in the Express framework. In the second version, we go ahead and require the environmental variables. The third one is we import the course middleware. The third one, we create an instance of Express app. As you can see, an Express application instance, just like this. And then we use the middleware of the course. This one is to help any application that is going to, whether you're using localhost or you're using the React Native, it should be able to communicate with your API. Now we have to start the server, okay? And the server, if for instance here I have this env, which was created by Prisma, by the way. I can just go ahead, for instance, and I put this. You can see const port is process.env port, or if it's not there, use this 8000. For instance, if I just go ahead in Node.js and create port 3000 here, just like port is equal to 3000, just like this. If I just create a port of this and we run the app, is going to be running on port 3000, and if this port is not there, it's going to go ahead and set it to 8000. Okay, this is what just it means. Then now we have this use express JSON. This one is going to help us to pass in the JSON requests and make data available in the request.body. So all the data we are going to be sending into the Node.js application using our Postman or using React Native is going to be coming in the request body and to be coming in as a JSON. Okay, now this does not directly supported in Node.js Direct. You have to use this middleware to intercept the JSON and make it usable in Node.js. Then we use this Express JSON. Okay, so after setting up everything, you have the port running and you have everything. We now start the app. So this one is actually starting to run the app, and we just have app.listen and we pass in the port, and with this is a callback function. As you can see here, it takes in the port plus the callback function. The callback function is, it can do or do anything you want here, but this is just like to let us know that we are having the app running on this port. So right now, I'm just going to go ahead and start our server right now, and we see how this goes. So I'm just going to say npm run dev. Okay, so this should just run and tell us that server is running on port 3000. And this is to tell you that now the .env is working, because at this point they load in all the environmental variables, and then we can use these variables here. You can see right now is running on port 3000 because already we have the env for this port 3000. If I just go ahead and I comment this and then I save, it should just be able to go ahead. Let's restart our server. Control C, and then let's restart. So you can see right now is running on port 8000. Okay, so it is up to you to define where you want it to report. You can define the port in the env here, and this is how we are going to be accessing environmental variables by using process.env, and this is the same way we use in Next.js. So right now we have our port running on 8000. Everything is so great. So what next? Now, of course, why we are using Node.js is to build the API. So of course, the most happy thing is to know how do we create an API. So to create an API, of course, I'll put here the summary of what the code does, express setup, environmental variables, cross origin, and all this. Go ahead and read about them. I put them there for you. So just go ahead and create actually a simple API endpoint that we are going to use. Actually, I think this is just the last in this first one. So just going to create a simple API endpoint that we can actually access in our what is this, the postman, that we can test this. Okay, so there are two things you have to understand in creating the in creating the API. Okay, and this is like knowing how we create endpoints and how we create things. After creating this app, we already have this app. It has all these methods on it, just like this. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and they just create a simple API. So before going after this, we're just going to go down here. Okay, after starting the app here, after this, let me just go down here. Okay, so let's create an API. So to those who are just like new to the API, I don't know if I have my blog about API. I will pull up those docs at some point. Let me just here best practices, API best practices, and let me just also pull up another one. I have a couple of things like API. Must be having like something like more about API, like Next.js API or something. Okay, right now let's just like pull up this one. Okay, so I just have this top 6 best practices on how to use the API, blah blah. I think I also have another one for the API itself. Okay, that talks more on this. I will just get that. Let me see. PDFs. I don't know. I will just get it as we move on. Okay, I will just get it as we move on. But we have so many HTTP. For instance, we have the gate. Okay, we have the post. We have the patch, put. We have patch. We have delete. These are for different things you can mutate on your API. For instance, you can run a gate to get a list of things or a list of resources. You can post, create new things on the API. You can put to modify and patch. These two are for modifying or editing or updating. and then finally we have the delete. So whenever you want to do something, you see app dot. As you can see here, there is use. This one is for accessing the middlewares they use, and then we have gate. If you just go down here, you have, for instance, like post, you have put, you have patch, you have things like delete. Okay, so right now we can create a gate. Now it means like here you're creating a gate endpoint. So inside here, it takes in two arguments. The first one is the path. So for instance, if I'm creating a list of customers, which will be accessed, for instance, on localhost 3000 slash, so it will be accessed on this. If I just say API gate, just like this, I will be getting it on HTTP localhost, like for instance, 8000 slash customers. So if you just do slash customers, okay, and then the get will specify if you are getting back the data or you are posting the back the data. So the second argument here is taking in a function, okay, is taking in a function just like this, and this function is going to be can it be an async function? I think it's supposed to be an async function which takes in the request and the response. Request, and then the response, and the request is of type request, and then the response is of type response, just like this. And then I think async function, are they supposed to be like async? Just a second. Request response, just like this. Okay, and I think just like that is okay. For instance, we can have const customers. Let's have a list of customers here and then return them just like that. Okay. So make sure that these requests and the response, they are gotten from Express. Let me just go ahead and import request. Make sure this one you are getting it from Express. Okay. This request must be imported from Express, and then the response also from Express, just like this. They should be imported on top here, request and response, just like this. That means every time you make a request to the customer's endpoint, we have ability to intercept the request. For instance, if it was a post, the data would be coming in the request, and if it is you getting back the response, and then the data is going to be inside the response. That's why after assuming we have a list of customers, just like this one, I've just created this one's app. Customers with a name, email, and the phone number. The same thing, name, email, and the phone number. And now we return. This is how we return. First of all, we access the response, and then you can modify the status on the response by using status. If I say 404, that means the status is going to be returned as 404. Of course, if everything is okay here, we pass in 200, and then the JSON of the data that we are responding. So here, for instance, where you get these customers from is about you. Here we'll be doing like db.prisma.find blah blah, and then we get them, then we respond them just like this. Of course, if you have done Next.js already, this one should be something very familiar, right? Like getting this and then responding. In the similarly in the Next.js, this one would be return next response, while we always have the next response, just like this. Okay, this is the same exact thing, and then you pass in the status plus the data. So here we just use raise.status, set the status, and it's not a must. I can just like do this. I just say raise.json only, and automatically it's going to look at this get and then we look for the appropriate status is going to append here. It's not a must that you specify this, but it's a good practice you specify the status code, and you're going to see the reason why. If you are consuming it in React Native or consuming it in a Next.js application, it is very important that you have the request appended very well here. This will be so much helpful. Okay, so I'm just going to say dot status, and then status. If I can write it, status, and then we can just go ahead and pass in 200. Okay, so this is our first endpoint, and how do we test this? I can now just go in Postman. Okay, so those who have never used Postman, let me just first close everything here in Postman. So that I'm just wait, I'm just going to go here, close this, and let me open Postman one more time. If you don't have Postman, go ahead and download Postman. If you don't already have, if you're going to be a backend developer, you need to be having Postman. Download a Postman. So just go ahead and download Postman here. There is one for online, but I insist that you download the one for the Windows app or Mac, whatever you're using. Download it and make sure it's very easy to install, and you'll have it up and running just like this. So when you log in, it will not look like mine. I have a lot of things here, but if you just go here, you can click on collections, and let me just go ahead and create a new collection. I have a lot of APIs that I've worked with in the past. You don't need to get worried by this. I'm just actually going to go and I don't know how do I close all these. Like you can just go ahead. And by the way, like you can save these tabs if you just open here. You just don't want to lose these. You can just go ahead and save. Okay, I just want to have a clean slate. I don't know how I can close these to once. Okay, save. Hey, this one has nowhere to save it. I'm just going to say cancel, or maybe don't save. Okay, so I'm just going to do this. On the collection part here, you can just say add new collection. Okay, you can add a new collection, and actually just create a new folder instead. Don't create a collection. Just go to the default collections. Okay, if you don't have already a collection, you can see I have JB APIs. You can just go ahead and create a new collection and give it a name. Okay, you can just go ahead and create one. I already have one called JB APIs. You can create a new collection. You give it your name or whatever you want to call it, like the APIs. Then inside it here, create a new folder. So just come here. You can right click either on these three dots here. You can either use this one or just go here. I just want to create a blank collection. So just create a blank collection just like this. Let's first give it a name. So I'm just going to give this one, do we have already inventory app? So you can just say here IPOS, actually just call it IPOS inventory with point of sale. Okay, maybe API, just like this. Okay, and then inside I can now start by adding folders. So just add a folder in this IPOS. I'm just going to go ahead and add a new folder. So add folder, and the folder, for instance, I'm just going to start with rename this. You can just name this to something like test. So here we are testing the API, and then inside you can add the first request, and you can see by default they will give you a get request. For instance here, get customers. So you say get customers. I like organizing this. If you learn how to organize your API, it will be somehow very easy for you when you are testing different APIs instead of throwing things just like that. In the IPOS, we have the test, for instance, which says get all customers, and now we pass in the URL. So you can easily get the URL of this by putting HTTP where we have this. You can just copy this like this. I don't know if it will just stop the server, but just right click, Control C, go back to Postman, and I'm just going to paste it here just like this. Okay, slash slash customers. So this slash, as we said, when you have it here, let me drop this down like this. So you say slash customers. Okay, and this is going to be so much helpful. It's going to be so much helpful to get localhost 3000 slash customers. You have the gate and then you pass in like this. So let's go ahead and run this. Just like run, and you can see after running this, we have our two customers. Okay, and the status we specified is here 200. If for instance we specify maybe we add one more person here, we just add, okay, just say John, and then we say John, John this, and then leave it like this. And let's go and change the status. If I just change this to maybe 201, for instance, 201. Let me just go back here and let's run one more time. So you can see we have three, and the status here is 201. And you can see here they give it a name created, which you don't want, because 201 is for host. Okay, that's why the status codes they matter, right? The status codes they matter. Give the right status codes. This is 200, and I think I also specified them in this document. The status code is somewhere. Let me see. I will get the one document I did for API and we'll be using that one. I don't know. Okay, the status codes, some of them are here. They can see 200 is okay for successful requests. That's the one we had when you run a gate. We have 201, 400, 401, and there are so many, as we'll be seeing them as we move on. Okay, so this one creates your first API and you can access it even in Postman just like this. Okay, so this is great. We have created it using, we have a nice setup with everything working properly. So we are just going to use this one as a template for starting every time we are starting a Node.js project. So we just go ahead and create this on GitHub and we just use it in, I will set it up in the actual project and you will see. So let me first go ahead to GitHub. I'm just going to go to GitHub and just go to repositories. I'm just going to first create this repository as I'm just going to make it public so that you guys can access it, because it's going to be a template that you can just like simply clone and start. I'm just going to give it a name as Node.js. So you can just say Node.js TS starter. Okay, TS Node.js TS starter. Like, it's going to help us to always start our Node.js project, okay, with TypeScript. Okay, and after getting this, you can just go ahead and create a repository and just go ahead and run these commands. First of all, we don't have git, we have the git ignore. First, make sure that the .env in the git ignore is there. Okay, and the node modules. And now let's go ahead and keep doing this. I'm just going to go ahead, just copy these first ones, git init and git add. So you can just come here on the terminal, just like this. So just going to say git, git init, That's the first command, and git add, just like this. Git init and git add dot. Now this one will just like initialize. And now after doing that, I'm just going to go ahead and copy these things here. We did git init and git add all. So you can just go ahead and make a commit. So I'll just go ahead and copy this. So I'm just going to say git commit. And I'm just going to, we can just call it a first commit. Let me just call it a first commit. So let me copy all these three commands, remove everything and clear. Paste all these, git commit, git branch. So you can see by default it makes a git branch of master, so you have to migrate this master to main, and then we connect with the one we have created, and then we push the code. So enter. This one is going to go ahead and push the code to this one. Okay, so now we have the Node.js starter all the time you're going to be using for our new projects. Now, how do I use it? I'm just going to use it right now. So let me just go ahead and close out from this project. So I will close this and go back to my project. This is why I told you I will put the actual API. So here I'm just going to put the actual API. So I can open my Git bus clear. So make sure, yes, I'm just extending in IPS. I'm just going to say cd dot dot. So right now, if I just do ls, you can see I have this Node.js starter. I just created this one for you guys to always be using it. But now I just want to create the one for the actual project that we are going to build in this whole course. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and say git clone. So just go here and let's clone this. So I will copy this. Okay, and I'm just going to say git clone. Go ahead and paste this GitHub. And now to create a new folder, where to put it, I'm just saying IPOS API, just like this. Enter, and now it's cloning it into IPOS. I can just go ahead and clear, and let's see seed into IPOS API, and let's go ahead and say code dot. So this is the actual code that we had. Without this, I would first run npm install. So just copy here. So in this, I will run npm install. Okay, I'll run npm install. Okay, so one thing that we need to do for the other example, I'm just going to open it. It is always good that you have this .env duplicated. Let me first open this old one so that it will push. Let me also open it here. So I'll just go ahead, because we already have the environmental variables here. You might just want to initialize the project with this. So you can just copy this and rename this as env.example. So this one, env.example. So that this one, it can be pushed. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and push this. You're saying git add and git commit. Okay, git commit and added env example, env example, and then like git push, just like this. So this one will just add one file to our stuff, the old one. If I just go back to the browser and refresh, it will just repeat at this the env.example. When you start a new project, you just know you need to rename this to the .env. But for now, what I'm just going to do is go ahead and copy everything here. Control C, And let me close this one. Okay, so you have to create the .env, and then make sure you have this. Okay. Of course, in actual production, we are going to go ahead and rename and put these things here. Okay, so I'm just going to run. First of all, when you clone a project, the first thing you do is to go ahead and install all the packages. So run npm install. Okay, npm install, just like this. This goes ahead and installs all the packages, right? That's why we have now Node modules and everything. Now this one is now IPOS API, the actual one we are going to we're going to build in this course. Let's just wait for this to finish, and we'll test if everything is still okay, and then we'll call the end of this episode. Okay, it seems like okay, it was trying, I think, to run this it is trying to run this post install. Okay, which is okay, giving us the errors. Yes, very okay. Clear this. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and run npm run dev. Okay, so I have it running here on port 8000. I can just go back to this. Let's again make this request, and let's make sure everything is still working. So you can see we have everything working with this one. Now I'm just going to push this as the IPOS API, and this one will be private because I'll be pushing everything that you're going to build in the course on this API. My team members are going to be using this one in connecting to whatever they are doing. Okay, great. So right now, I need to create another API, but before I do it, just go to the folder and delete the .git. So I'm just going to go to this IPOS API. Now this is the one you have just created right now for your project you're going to be using in the course. So find this .git and remove it. Okay, we could have just said remove, but I was just like to navigate to it. And if you're not seeing it, chances are you still have you have to go here and say show hidden files or show hidden extensions. Show file extensions and show hidden files. Make sure you check this on your Windows 10 on your Windows machine. Make sure you have show hidden files so that you can see this .git. Go ahead and delete it. After deleting it, now I can go back to my project and push this to GitHub. So I want to push this to GitHub. Let me open a new tab and let me go back to GitHub. Go back to GitHub. Where is my GitHub? GitHub is here. Let me just go to repositories, a new repository, and this one is just going to create IPOS API. Okay, this is IPOS API, just like this. I'm just going to make this private and just go ahead and create a repository. And let's go ahead and do the same thing like this. Okay. Go ahead and just say that git init and git add. So git init. Of course, make sure that you have the package, the git ignore with .env, not push it, git init and git add everything. Okay. And now let's go ahead and paste this. Okay, so I have my API on GitHub, so I can add all my add all my collaborators here in this so that they can get this API on their machine. So this one going to mark our first is going to mark our first episode for this. Okay, just like to make this the first episode. So in the second episode, we are going to look at versioning and start setting up all the routes, setting up all the routes and everything. So thank you so much for watching this episode. I will see you in the next one.